Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us for the learning of Torah Hashem, Be'ezus Hashem Yisbarach. We are sponsored in our travels through Zevachim by Shalom Fogel, the Ilui Nishmas, Rabbi Yaakov Zeb ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam bas Gad, Yosef ben Sion ben Yaakov Zeb, and for a great shidduch for Chayat Tzivya bas Shoshana Gittel, by Baruch Ian, the Ilui Nishmas Yaakov ben Chaim ben Abba, Esther bas Yona, Avram ben Shmuel HaKain, for the Refuah Shalem of Liba bas Hanya, by A.B. Spry, and for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for Yeshua Menachem Mendel ben Bela Shendel Rivka, by Mark Frankel, Lili Nishmas, his father, Yisrael Tzvi ben Chaim Yeshua Falik, and by Berish Gesemin, the Refuah Shalema for Shoshana Bas Adina. Again, we remind everybody what an opportunity it is to learn Bein Kesel La'aser, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which it's always a good thing to learn, but bearing in mind that Torah is Megan Umatzlei, it shields and it saves, and as we said, we want to say to Hashem, Hashem, please let me have an untroubled year, that I should be able to never have to miss a daf. We are holding by Itmar, 2 lines from the bottom of Yud Daled Amud Beis. Itmar, 2 lines from the bottom of Yud Daled Amud Beis. Amar Ula, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Haylacha Shaloi Beregel, if he conveys it without moving his feet, let's say he's holding the blood and he hands it over to another kohen, so he conveys it without moving his feet. Lo yishma halacha. That's not considered halacha, and therefore Rashi says that has a lenient implication, and the lenient implication is that if he has a machshava of pigel, it won't be considered pigel because that's not halacha. So therefore it's not mafagalit. However, it also means the eina kasheira lahilicha. It is not a good way to convey it. So the Gemara says, as we start with Daf Tezvav Amud Aleph, Efshel liskuna or lo efshel liskuna. Is it fixable or not? In other words, if let's say it was handed over to the next kohen, can you give it back and do it over by moving your feet? Or is the fact that you did it that way, does it disqualify it? As Rashi says, do we say miu yesh la takana la'achzira la'achareha, to return it backward, and v'la'achzir l'hoylech b'regel, and then move it with the feet? Or there's no backsies. Once you moved it that way without moving your feet, it's disqualified. Interesting shayla. Tajma, it says, Tajma, kibala kosher. We said if a kosher person was mekabelit, v'nosan lepasul, and he gives it to the pasul, yazu lekosher. Now, that means that if, let's say, the kohen is mekabel the dam, and he passes it over to Mel, who is not a kohen, so we say yazu lekosher. So Mel returns it back to the kohen. Now, Nehei Nami, the Yazu HaKosher, v'yikablenu, even though the kohen takes it and receives it, Isol kedaitach lo efshel liskuna. If we say that you cannot fix it, well, then it's already puzzle when it was handed over to the puzzle. If salala, it was handed over when it was handed over to the puzzle. If you say haylacha shaloi b'reglayim is it disqualifies, so then the fact that he gave it back, if you can't fix it, it should be puzzle. So it must be that you could fix it. Says the Gemara, no. When it was handed to Mel, mi suffered to Kaizar Gavoy, do you think that Mel was closer to the Mizbeach? Loi the Kaizar Broi. Mel was further away. So when he gave it to Mel, there was no halacha, because it wasn't in the direction of the Mizbeach. Says the Gemara, Imar, Amar Ula, Amar Reb Yechna, Halacha shaloi beregel psula. Halacha without moving is puzzle. So from the fact that it says psula, alma lo yefshel l'sikun, that it can't be rectified. Because otherwise, why would it say psula? It would say give it back and do it over. Eisvei Rav Nachman Ula. So Rav Nachman asks a very simple question to Ula. It says, if let's say the Kayin caught the blood in the Klei Sharis, Nishpach ben HaKeli ala Ritzpah, v'asvu, and you gathered it from the ground, kosher. But why? When it spilled, it went forward in not an acceptable way. And if it went forward not in an acceptable way, so then if you can't repair it, then how could it be kosher? Says the Gemara, where the blood went away from the Mizbeach. It didn't go towards the Mizbeach. So the Gemara says, Lebroi nafak, it only goes, when blood spills, it spills all around. So Lebroi nafak, it only went in one direction. Legavoy lo'ayil, it didn't go in the other direction. Some of it had to go forward. Says the Gemara, b'makam madrin, it fell on a slope, so that none of it went towards the Mizbeach. Iba yisema beguma, it fell in a small hole where it couldn't go further. The Iba yisema besmicha, it's talking about where it was thick blood, which couldn't spill in all areas.
Where is there a slope in the Azor?
We don't know. It's on a mountain. The whole Har HaBayis is a mountain, so it might be on a slope. Huh?
Are we proving halacha from here? We're asking about the halacha. We're not talking about the Kabbalah. Even though the Kabbalah spilled, he could fix that.
Right. If it spilled from the Klei Sharis, not if it spilled from the animal.
So that means the halacha was done already with it, so you could fix it because it was done properly. But we're saying here, if it's close to Mizbeach, then you lack halacha.
Correct. So the Gemara now says, the Ichbal Tanu La'ashminun Kol Hani, is the Tana talking about all these unusual cases. V'oid Aditani Be'idach Perkin. This is what Rabbi Kranz was referring to. Nishbach ala Ritzpah, if it falls straight onto the floor, v'asvay puzzle, and you gather it up from the floor, it's puzzle. Well, we should have said a bigger chiddush. Even if it fell from the keli, if it goes forward, it's puzzle. Lift like bididei, even with a keli, where the blood went only away. Aval nichlas lefnim, but if it goes forward, puzzle. So says the Gemara Tiyufta, that's a refutation of what we said, that it's not possible to be misakinit. Kamash Malan, that it is possible to be misakinit. Itmar. So now the Gemara says something else about Halacha Shaloi Beregel. Itmar, Halacha Shaloi Beregel, conveying without the feet, Machloikis Reb Shimon Rabbanan. Now, we had in the Mishnah that Reb Shimon says that a machshava does not passel in the halacha because you could do without it. Now at this point, the Gemara attempts, don't get too attached to it. The Gemara will say that that's not what the Mishnah says. But at this point, the Gemara wants to say, Ba'ilacha Rabasi, where you shech the animal far away from the Mizbeach, so that you have to convey it, the Kuli Almaloi Pligi de Psula. Everybody holds that if you do it with a machshava of Shaloi Lishma, if it's a Chatas or a Pesach, it's possible. Ki Pligi Behilacha Zutrasi, where it's a small way to the Mizbeach, and you shechted it right near the Mizbeach, and you just have to convey it without moving your feet. So the Rabbanan hold that it's still puzzle. So that would mean that they hold that Halacha Shaloi Beregel is considered Halacha, and therefore it's puzzle. Reb Shimon says that if you don't have to move your feet, so that's not halacha, and therefore it's kasher. So halacha shalei beregel is not considered halacha. However, machku Allah b'marava, they laughed about this in Eretz Yisrael. Marava is the west, which Eretz Yisrael was the west to Bavel, from Bavel. So in Babylonian Talmud it's called b'marava. So they laughed about in the Marava, elachata sa'oif, the psula b'machshava. When you spray the chatas ha'oif, we know that when spraying with the animal, with the bird, if you have a machshava of piglet passels, l'Reb Shimon heichi mishkachasa. When does it happen? Because it's done right next to the mizbeach. If he has the machshav before the blood comes out, that's nothing. Lav klumi, because it's not at the time of the zrika. V'i basa denafik dam, if it's after the blood comes out, it's avad la mitzvasa. The mitzvah is already done. Says Gemara, well, no. My kasha. Dilma mit the parish v'ad dematal mizbeach. From the time that the blood comes out until it reaches the mizbeach, that is enough. If he has machshava at that time, it disqualifies. Because you see, you might say that your avodah is finished as soon as you wave the bird. The blood coming out, that's already not in your hands, and there a machshava doesn't pass. But you'd be wrong about that. The boy minei Reb Yirmiyah Reb Zeira hayamaza. Let's say a kain, this is a sad case. Let's say a kain, Reb Khan, Reb Shmuel Khan, was spraying, v'nikta yadei shalmaza, and his hand got amputated. Ad shaloi hagia dam la'avra mizbeach, before the blood reached the mizbeach. Now, when his hand got amputated, he's a balmum, and avodah is possible. But if he discharged the avodah as soon as it came, he waved it, then the fact that his hand got cut off wouldn't disqualify it. Now, for Amalei, and in such a grim case, since Barry is lurking over here, we could, say somebody like Barry was in the Azara. All things could happen. The Amalei psula. it's possible. My timer, the he's of a nasan be'inan. You need to spray and put it on the mizbeach. So it's not enough that you just sprayed it. The avoid is not considered discharged until it's put on the mizbeach. But the Gemara says, you're right, that wasn't the laugh. The laugh is that you cannot say that the reason for Reb Shimon is because he holds that if it's right by the mizbeach and you put it on and you have a machshava pigel, that Reb Shimon holds that it's not pigel because halacha beregel is loishma halacha, so it's not a ma'isa halacha. That can't be the reason, because Reb Shimon says that the reason why halacha doesn't passel is because it's not an indispensable avodah, because you could do it right next to the mizbeach. Rather, ki asra papa Rav Huna b'reid Rabbi Yeshua mebei Rav. When Rav Papa and Rav Huna, the son of Rabbi Yeshua, came from the academy, Imri hainu chucha ubahalacha rabasi loy pligi. Does Reb Shimon not argue with halacha rabasi? Va ki pligi by halacha rabasi pligi. If you look in the Mishnah, it's very strange that the Gemara doesn't talk this out, and there might be girsayis over here that the Gemara does talk it out. But the fact of the matter is our Mishnah says that the reason why Reb Shimon holds that halacha doesn't pass is because halacha is not indispensable. You don't need to do the halacha. You could check it right next to the mizbeach. So obviously he holds even if there's a long halacha, it doesn't disqualify. Ella, says the Gemara, and here we're going to be goris like Rashi. Ella by halacha zutrase kuli amalei pligi de pasla. Where it's a short amount, everybody holds that it's possible if you have a machshava pigel, because that small amount is indispensable, and that means that they hold halacha shaloi beregel shma halacha ki pligi by halacha rabbasim. They argue only in the case of a long distance. So Reb Shimon says a long distance doesn't disqualify because it's not indispensable, and only an indispensable avodah disqualifies.
You could have done it next to them.
Right next to the mizbeach. While the Rabbanan hold, so what? But now if you have a long halacha, that's an avodah, and it does disqualify. Now, says the Gemara, and for those that are just joining us, we're at the first wide line on the bottom of Daf Tesvav Amud Aleph. It would seem to be, with the help of Hashem, that the steroids are helping. I mean, there's a significant difference, no? I cough through the night. That's a big challenge.
You sound great, Rabbi.
I always need cheerleaders that are modestly dressed. I always need. Right. If you're modestly dressed, you could even have pom poms. I hope I was right about this. I was never by a baseball game in my life. The only time I was in City Field was for the internet asifa. That's the only time I was in City Field. I'm not saying that I didn't listen to a baseball game. That I did in the car. I listened to baseball in 1986. My brother introduced me to the Mets in the 1986, and it was the playoffs with the Astros. And my brother started to wax about it. You know, there's this pitcher, Mike Scott, and this and that. He got me interested, so I listened. And, you know, I actually listened to it and to the World Series. I mean, in between shiurim and everything when I was in the car. But it was fast. That was a fascinating... They beat your Red Sox. Only because there's something going through somebody's feet. Yeah. I actually heard that. I was was his name? The radio announcer. He's not alive anymore.
Bob Murphy?
Bob Murphy. I was a Bob Murphy fan. I was a Bob Murphy fan.
It's such a boring game to watch. It's such an even more boring game to listen to.
Okay, so it's
You gotta be a fan.
yeah.
I'm a fan.
If you're a fan, it's not boring.
I'd rather watch golf.
Anyway,
Was that the Tug McGraw? Was that the Tug McGraw World Series?
no.
No?
No.
That was Philly.
No. That's a different. That's before I even knew baseball existed. You know, but anyway.
What's Reb Shai didn't get right? Reb Shai to say, I hope I got it right.
Oh yes, I hope you got it right. I said that there's no cheerleaders in baseball. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Okay, because somebody said to me, how could you have people go to a baseball game with cheerleaders? So I said, no, I know there's no cheerleaders in baseball.
At that time, and now there are.
Yeah.
Now there are?
Well,
Now
they're
it happens.
mascots.
Yes,
But not
certain
cheerleaders like the Rockies. Like
People get dressed in costumes.
Yeah, that's a mascot. That's something else.
No,
I think Shelley was a mascot once.
I was. Certain
Yeah,
stadiums have, even the Cyclones game has the cheerleaders now, unfortunately.
I will tell you that when we got to MetLife Stadium, and all around the stadium were Pepsi advertisements. A lot of my Talmidim said, "Look, I heard it at the Siyum. Look, in honor of the Rav. Look." The Olam has no idea how much Pepsi I used to drink. Irving would bring me a Pepsi by the Daf in Staten Island. Then Aaron Finkelstein would bring me a Pepsi by the Daf in Borough Park, and then by the Chumash Shir, somebody else would bring me a Pepsi.
I think you even took the Pepsi challenge.
If I could have got over the years pretty good royalties from Pepsi, but anyway.
Pepsi challenge? Didn't you take the Pepsi challenge?
I don't know what. Oh, you mean to determine the difference between Pepsi and Coke? I was able to pick out 1 cup of Pepsi from 10 cups. I was able to test them and tell you which cup was Pepsi. But anyway,
back to the bar.
We won't put that on your resume.
anyway, if you put it on, they probably wouldn't believe it. So now, says the Gemara, if a non-Kayin conveyed the blood, V'chziroi Kayin, and the Kayin took it back. V'hilichai, so the question is, can you do a do-over? Right? It was taken by a apostle, which could technically disqualify it, but then the Kohen took it back from him and retraced the steps. Pligaba b'nei Reb Chia v'Rab Yanai. It's machlokes the children of Reb Chia and Reb Yanai. Chadam are kosher, v'chadam are apostle. Why? Ma'asaver efshel iskuna, you could correct it. Or ma'asaver le efshel iskuna. Now here's an interesting thing. Ha'ilichu kayin, if the kayin took it, let's say he took it 2 steps forward, v'chzirai, brought it back, the chazav ha'ilichu zar, and the non-kayin took it forward. Now, what's the din there? So Rav Shimi Bar Ashi says a very interesting thing. Amar Rav Shimi Bar Ashi, l'divrei ha'machshir, the one that said in the first case, where the Zar took it, and then after that, I'm sorry, where where the Zar took it, and then afterwards the Kayin took it. So he says it's good. So in that case, where he says that if the Zar took it, and then the Kayin took it, it's no good. So then over here, puzzle. Over here it's puzzle. Because here, where the Kayin took it, and then the Zar took it, so we say that we go basar the end product, and here the end product is the Zar taking it. So then it would be puzzle, just like in the first case, when the end product is that the Kayin took it, it's good. So here, when the end product is the Zar took it, it's puzzle. The Divrei HaPaisel, the one that says where the Kayin took it first, and then the puzzle took it, it's excuse me, I keep on getting mixed up. Yeah, where the Zar took it, and then the Kayin took it, it's puzzle. So that means that he goes basar the first one that did it. Here, it's Machshir, because here the first one that did it was the Kayin. Rava says, Afla Divrei HaPaisel puzzle. Even according to the one that says that it's puzzle, where the Kayin takes it, where the Zar takes it first, and then the Kayin, it's puzzle. Here, where the Kayin took it first, and then the Zar, it's also puzzle. Why? Because again, it has to be redone. And it has to be redone by the Kayin, since it has to be redone by the Kayin. So therefore, it was already disqualified by the puzzle, and it's no good. My timer. Because he needs to take it and redo it, right? So therefore, it's no good, because you have to again undo what the Zar did and redo it over, and that would be possible. So now, Amalei Rav Yirmiyah Rav Ashi, Achi Amar Rav Yirmiyah B'Difti. This question of that Hatzarech Lam Tuyeh, because you have to redo it, and therefore, since you have to redo it, it's the avodah of the Zar makes it possible. Machloikis Rebbe Eliezer v'Rabbanan. It's Machloikis Rebbe Eliezer and Rabbanan. The Tanan, Rebbe Eliezer Eimer. Here it's an interesting thing. We have, and with the coming of Marshall and the 30th Zumar of the evening, I guess it's time to welcome everybody in. Marshall, it's good to have you. As I always say, please never hesitate to come to this shir. Sometimes people say, I'm not going to come in late. I don't say that. I say, come in even for the last 5 minutes. Correct. I always tell a story that I was in a shul in Hollywood, Florida. Not Hollywood, South Florida. And they had a custom that they would lock the doors of the shul 10 minutes before mincha when there was a shir. They didn't want the people to come in at the end and disturb the shir. So they would lock the doors. And I was there, and I said publicly, I don't think you should lock the doors of a shul. I said, how many people came to a shir the last 5-10 minutes, and they saw it was interesting, and the next week they came for the shir? or maybe even if it isn't the first time, but after 4 times, and even if they won't come to the shir, they get 10 minutes of learning. They might hear the last word. And even if not, they're Ashrei Yoshrei Veisecha. Don't lock the doors of a shul. I don't know, but I think it made sense to them. Afterwards, I had a little bit charata about making such a statement, because really I was stepping a little bit on the feet of the Rav. It might have been the Rav's takana, so maybe I should have spoken it privately to the Rav. But I reacted because I knew from experience that that's taking away opportunities from people.
Rabbi, why couldn't you put a code on the door?
Well, the idea wasn't the code on the door. The idea was they didn't want people coming in and disturbing people.
Rabbi, I can't think in the good. You always lock the door. I don't understand it.
Yeah, but usually you didn't come at all. Says the Gemara, he always puts his shoe in his mouth. I can't help it.
Notice when you were talking about disturbing the share, who chimed in?
Yeah.
Marshall, yeah, you just got here.
Well, leave Marshall alone. He's very makbid on time. Very makbid. Very makbid. They say that you should be makbid for yourself and lenient for other people. That's Marshall's credo.
That and Romanian Frank.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what it says, that we have 2 eyes. One to look at ourselves critically, and one to look at others favorably. And the Bali Musars say a lot of people confuse the eyes. They have 2 eyes, but they confuse it. They look at other people critically and themselves favorably. There's another rule, and it's a very good rule. People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Glass houses. Huh? What did I say? No, I said glass. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, people in black houses could throw stones. But anyway, by the way,
Said glass.
thank you. That is based on a Maimer Chazal. Maimer Chazal is kshoit atzmecha v'achakak kshoit achera. Beautify yourself, and only then beautify others. There are, in my practice, I'll tell you a personal hanhag of mine. In my practice, I sometimes see a great vart, and I don't say it over. It's like gurgling in me to say it over, but I don't feel I'm holding anywhere near it, and therefore I don't feel that I could say it, because I'm not on that. It's interesting. Veteran people that listen to me for decades, have commented to me that I don't talk very often. Shelley will bear this out, I think, but I don't talk very often on the subject of bitachon. I don't. Am I right, Shelley?
Yes, I think so. And I think, to quote you, you very often say, I'm going to say this, but I'm saying it to myself as well.
Well, sometimes I do that because I feel it's necessary. But I'm not, the subject of bitachon by me is a very, very difficult subject. And that's why I don't talk about it that often. And it's very nice to see a horizontal face. How are you there? Your father is keeping you hanging?
He's just hanging in there.
Okay. I'll take anybody hanging in. You'll do anything to get the bourbon, I'll tell you. Anyway, we welcome in Saba, Mel Zachter. Mel, it's good to see you. We've been missing you a little bit. Baruch Ian, Yaakov Warman, Dr. Block, Nachman Chapler, Menachem Yemansky, Dr. Guy, Shalom Fogel, And it's wonderful to have Shlomo Schmidt with us. Thank you for joining us. Irving Fishbaum, Mo Kushner, Yisrael Fisher, Shimon Klein, Rabbi Kranz, and the one and only Barry Cement, Michal, Yitz Fuchs. You notice, Yitz, I saw you weren't here. Dr. Yadel, Yitzi Muller, Marshall Castle, Shelley Zeitlin, Mark Frankel, and Mark, I also noticed you weren't here. Richard Rosenzweig, great to have you. Avram Rezepkowitz, Ilya Shutman, Reb Elia Yaffe, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg. And here in Shul, we have wonderful to have Berish and Gedalia back, and Chaim Kramer, and Herschel Wallner, that is, the one and only Herschel Wallner, and Reuven Shannon. We're missing Michal Avram tonight, who's undoubtedly doing all the sukkahs errands and kaparas and whatnot. Kudos to everybody that you're here. These are very busy times. Okay, boy, look how I'm waffling tonight. Gedalia says, I came for this. I came to hear this stuff.
Waffles go pretty good with hot dogs.
So now, we said that this question of whether, since you have to convey it, so it makes the avodah puzzle, machlokes Rebbe Eliezer Rabbanan. Ditnan, what did our Mishnah say? Rebbe Eliezer, if you go in a place where you have to go, machshava paiselas. If you go to a place that you don't have to go, now, when we learned the Mishnah, we learned it simple, that Rebbe Eliezer holds if you're going away from the Mizbeach, so that doesn't puzzle, because it's a place where you don't have to go. The Rabbanan hold, even then, it puzzles. So Rava says, no. Everybody agrees that kiblu b'chutz, if you caught it away from the Mizbeach, v'ichnisa b'fnim, and you brought it in, that's a necessary halacha, and the machshava would pass. Kiblu b'fnim, if you caught it inside, v'yitzir l'chutz, and you take it away, even the Rabbanan hold, zehilach she'ena tzarach lalech. Loi nechleku, ele kishechnisai, where you brought it towards the Mizbeach, v'chazar v'yitzir, and you took it out, and you brought it back. Now you have to bring it back. So since you have to bring it back, it's considered a necessary halacha. Why? Because since you brought it already, so you didn't need to do that. Although you took it back and you brought it forward, since you brought it already once there, this is not considered an avodah that was needed, and therefore it would not disqualify. So here too, if the Kayan brought it, and then the Zar took it back and brought it, whether that's considered a necessary halacha would be a machlokes. So Abaye says that's not what Rebbe Eliezer holds. Eisvei Abaye, Rebbe Eliezer Omer HaMahalech, conveying it, Mokum shetzarach la'aleich machshava peiseles. If it's a place where you have to go, machshava passes. Keitzad, kiblu b'chutz v'chnisa lefnim, you caught it on the outside, and you brought it in the inside, zehilach shetzarach la'aleich. This is something necessary. Kiblu b'fnim v'yitzir l'chutz, if you caught it inside and you took it out, zehilach she'ena tzarach leilach. So, he doesn't say the example. He only says the example of where it's not a tzarech halacha is if he takes it from inside to outside. He doesn't say it's a case where somebody brought it inside and then somebody took it out, that you now have to bring it back in. He doesn't say that case. So, But if you have to take it back in, hilach shetzarach la'alachu. That's definitely a case where you need a tzarach halacha, and therefore even Rabbi Eliezer will hold that if it's brought back and now you bring it forward since it's necessary, it would disqualify. Amalei, so he says, you're right. Itanya taina. If it teaches this way, it teaches this way. And even according to Rabbi Eliezer, if it was brought forward once and brought back, when you bring it forward again, that's considered tzarach halacha, and it would disqualify even according to Rabbi Eliezer. Hadru lach kol hazvachim. Hadru lach kol hazvachim. Hadru lach kol hazvachim. Now, kol hazvachim shekiblu daman, all karbanas that the blood is caught by a zar, a non-kayin, einain, one who lost a relative that day, tfil yom, somebody who touches sheretz, went to the mikveh, but did not have the setting of the sun, umachus kippurim, or somebody like a zav, who had 7 days, went to the mikveh, but didn't bring the carbon the next day, umachus begadim, or somebody that wasn't wearing the 4 vestments, or shaloi richutz yadayim raglayim, he didn't wash his hands and feet from the kier, oral, somebody who was mesu achiv machmas mila, he was uncircumcised, tamei, one was tamei, yaishim, one was sitting, aymin al gabe kelim, one was standing on utensils instead of being barefoot on the floor, al gabe behema, one was standing on the foot of an animal, al gabe raglei chaveroi, on his friend's foot, puzzle. Kibel b'smal, if he caught it in his left hand, puzzle. Rabbi Shimon machshir. Rabbi Shimon says it's okay. Says the Gemara, could have you Gedalia. Remember, you come even if you have to leave. I have
Rabbi Shimon machshir?
Huh? If he catches it with his left hand.
Ah, the last one. Okay.
Okay, I have snipers outside. Now, says the Gemara. Should we have bulletproof vest? Says the Gemara. Zar minolan. Oh, by the way, feel better. Take Motrin. Are you allowed to?
Yeah.
Only 3 really help.
Only 3.
Yeah. Says the Gemara, just take it with food. Yeah. Now, today, by the way, sports doctors already are giving 4, but take only 3. You know, my knowledge of medicine started in Yeshiva of Staten Island. This is back in the 70s. They didn't have a nurse. There was nobody in the yeshiva that had any medical knowledge. So I read in the bathroom one book about all medicines and another book on all kinds of first aid and everything. And I used to really dispense medical knowledge in the yeshiva. And to a certain extent, my shidduch with my first Rebbetzin came from that. Because somebody came to the yeshiva and in the parking lot their car blew up. And one of the children got a burn. And I treated burns. And I mean, I'm not Dr. Block, but I treated burns. And they called for me, and I came and I took care of the boy. And the woman says, I'm going to make this boy shidduch. And she was very friendly with somebody that knew my wife. And she made the shidduch. It's the only time she knew me. And she made the shidduch. The name was Saflis. It's a mother. If you know, you always see the advertisement about Saflis. His marketing. Yeah, that's his mother. Anyway. Bottom line, that's correct. Okay. Says the Gemara, Zar Minalan, how do we know that if the Kabbalah is done with a non-Kayin, it's possible with a zar. So the Gemara says the Tani Levi. Now this is a little bit of a roundabout proof. It quotes a very difficult pasuk. Daber al Aaron vel banav leimar. Speak to Aaron and his children, saying that when they're tamei, v'yinozru mikotchei b'nei Yisrael, that they should remove themselves from the kachim of b'nei Yisrael. Now, that would imply that there are other kachim that they could do the avodah when they're tamei. B'nei Yisrael lemutei mai. What kachim are they allowed to be makriv even if they're tamei? Ilaima lemutei nashim. That if it's the carbon of a woman, you could do it b'tama. So the Gemara says, what? Carbon b'tama nashim b'tama karv? Kain can't be makriv a carbon while he's tamei just because it's a woman's carbon. El lemutei oivdei kechavim. To say that they could do the avodah of the carbon of a guy could bring karbanas. So maybe it's saying that they could do the avodah of a carbon of a guy. Says the Gemara, that can't be either, because hashda tzitz loy maratza. The din is that if the dam becomes tamei and it's put on the mizbeach, the tzitz worn on the kohen gadol's forehead could be maratza the dam to make it acceptable. But we learn that the tzitz doesn't make the blood of a guy, carbon of a guy, acceptable. So hashda tzitz loy maratza damar mar ba'ivdei kechavim bein b'shoigeg bein b'mezid, whether it was done b'tuma, unwittingly or willfully, loy hurtza. It doesn't even waive the tuma. Would you think b'tuma karev that you could bring a guy's carbon b'tuma? Of course not. So when it says v'yenozru mikachei b'nei Yisrael, what is that coming to exclude? We have to slice and dice this pasuk. El achi kamer. Dabril b'nei Aaron banav leimar v'yenozru, and they should separate. Stop. They should separate when they're tamei. They can't do the avodah. Mikotchei b'nei Yisrael v'lo yichalalu. It says that the b'nei Yisrael should abstain from activity with kachim and v'lo yichalalu, and that way they won't desecrate the carbon. So here we see that a zar can't do the avodah. And if he does the avodah, he'll desecrate it. Now, tomorrow, we'll learn another source for this. Again, we'll stop over here. I want to mention that tomorrow, we will have a special shir called for the Shabbos Shabboson table. I am looking for a sponsor for that shir, for the holiest day of the year. If anybody wants to sponsor it, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. Let me know as soon as possible. Text me or WhatsApp me or email me. And everybody should have a wonderful night.